Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, to USA forecast for today's second video. So as always on a Wednesday, we're having a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for the United States. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended CFS that runs to around 4 weeks. So I shall get on with it for you in a second, just to say that the first video release is our 7 AM upload. We've also got the 10 to 14 day for the UK and for Europe coming up for you later on this afternoon. And then at 7 PM, we're continuing our Christmas countdown. It'll be update number 3 for Christmas. That'll be released around 7 PM this evening. Should be an interesting watch, hopefully. Right, okay, let's get on with your safe forecast then. So you're going to begin in the tropical Atlantic. All of a sudden, we've got a disturbance area that has appeared. This orange X just here. That is disturbance 1 with a 50% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours and a 50% chance in the next 5 days. They're saying showers and thunderstorms associated with a powerful non-tropical low-pressure system located about 400 miles northeast of Bermuda have changed little in organisation during the past several hours. Recent satellite-derived wind data indicate that hurricane-force winds are occurring south of centre. However, low is still interacting with a frontal boundary, and the system has not yet acquired enough tropical cyclone characteristics to be considered a subtropical storm. Additional development is still possible during the next day or two, and a subtropical storm could form during this time. Thereafter, the system is forecast to move over colder water and be absorbed by a larger non-tropical low-pressure system. Doesn't look like this is going to impact the United States, but it's just the idea that although we're into November, we're at the back end of the tropical storm and hurricane season, we may still get, may still get development areas, and you won't completely rule out the chance of another tropical storm and or hurricane at some point through the next couple of weeks, as this has been a pretty big season. Let's have a look at the latest from the GFS from tropicaltidbits.com, and this is the area of low pressure just here that might form a subtropical storm over the next day or two. It's well away from the eastern seaboard of the state, so it shouldn't impact any area, of America. Let's run through then and see what the GFS does with that one. So it moves it away from the United States. Don't have to worry about that at all for America. And then we get this ridge off the eastern coast of America that will keep any sort of disturbance areas at bay. No sign of anything popping off until maybe we get through to around the end of the weekend. There is an area of low pressure that is exiting the east coast end, but I don't think that one is a tropical storm or whatnot, so that just moves away up the east coast. Now, there is something developing there. This is Monday. There is something developing from the southeastern part of the states, and just here, there's a trough that's coming out of the Carolinas, and that's developing into an area of low pressure there as we get through Monday. That might be a tropical storm. That could be a tropical storm that's coming out of the southeastern corner of America. That moves up the eastern seaboard, becomes quite a significant feature, 975 millibars. So certainly a deep area of low pressure, whether or not that's a tropical storm or Category 1 hurricane, not sure. But certainly, that's a deep area of low pressure. It comes out of, the trough comes out of the southeast part of America, and then as it runs up the east coast, it does develop. So that could bring some very wet and windy weather to portions of the east coast early next week. Whether or not that's a tropical storm and or hurricane, I'm not sure. Then a ridge sort of developing after that. So generally quite a quiet scene really through the middle part of next week across much of the tropical Atlantic. Is anything else going to develop on this GFS run? We're well into extended range now, moving towards day 10. There's another low pressure system that's developing here. We've got a trough in the Gulf of Mexico there on Friday 19th of November. So we're moving up towards day 10 now. There's a trough in the Gulf of Mexico that sort of pushes northeastwards, and that one develops into an area of low pressure as well. Again, these might be tropical storms, they might just be troughs of low pressure. It's so late on in the season now that but it's difficult, to ascertain whether these are genuine tropical storms or whether they're just troughs of low. But certainly still activities going on. anyway, and we may yet get one final sort of storm or hurricane kicking off late into the season. That's up to the 26th of November, so very, very late on now, by which time it looks as though things are pretty much shut down definitively through through the tropical Atlantic and whatnot. But yeah, there's still activity going on. It's been a big season, above average season anyway, so we might get one final sort of flourish, one final sort of blast before the end of this season in the next week or two. We'll have to wait and see what happens with those disturbance areas. So they're clearly still, trying to get themselves going over the next week or two. Right, so that's what you take with what's going on in the tropics and whatnot. Let's have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Next, going to look at Chicago today. So the red line's a 30-year upper air temperature average for Chicago, starting off above average with those upper air temperatures at the moment. But a big drop in the temperature is on the way. The first sort of blast of winter is coming for, the Midwest and the northeastern part of America. Is going to get much colder. There will be some snow in places as well. The first snowfalls, proper snowfalls, I think, of the season for these, for these areas like Chicago, city areas, for example. It looks like it lasts around 4 or 5 days, so when it gets milder through the course of next week again, with cold air retreating back into Canada probably, and then after that just quite close to average. There's a lot of scatter that's going on into the second half of November, I should say. So I've got the milder on some of them down here, but I have got cooler on some of them up there. There's a lot of up and down going on as well, so alternating air masses indicative of the time of the year. Precipitation-wise, going to be loads of dry weather over the next day or so, but as the temperature plummets at the end of the week, so there will be a cold front and area of low pressure involved in that. So initially rain, possibly turning to snow. Then we've got precipitation in this period just here, which of course is cold, so definite chance of some snow there for Chicago and many parts of the Midwest and the Northeast as well. Then after that, as it warms up, that involves precipitation too, so we might see snow and then turning back to rain, that kind of thing in the fall. And then just generally quite unsettled really with rain, and if it's cold enough, the risk of some wintry conditions at times. So it looks like things are progressing on now in Northern America. We're beginning to progress. It's been a very mild, very warm sort of autumn, fall, but it looks like things are progressing on a little bit now. Having said that, the temperature anomaly for the next week, temp to the 18th of November, actually looking mild and average from coast to coast. So it is still a pretty mild scene, to be honest, in many parts of America. Maybe a bit surprising, really, given, this drop in temperature that's coming there later on in the week. You would expect, I would have thought, that this anomaly chart will go a little bit colder than this across the Midwest, for example. But there you go, that's what the anomaly is showing for the next week. Precipitation-wise, bit of a north-south split. Many of the southern states looking very dry. Northern states looking rather wet, it has to be said. Right, so let's have a look at some chart data then. This is the latest GFS run. So, setup for today is I've got low pressure through the central Rocky Mountain states, high pressure out to the west towards the Pacific coast, and high pressure still there over in the east, keeping the warm weather going. The upper air temperatures are very mild or warm across most parts of America. Now, over the next couple of days, that area of low pressure, let's go back to it, this sort of trough just here through the central states is going to develop into quite a big area of low pressure, and as it does so, it will start to pull down colder air from Canada. So tomorrow, that area of low pressure then starts pushing up towards the Midwest, and on the western side of that low, will start to draw in some colder air from the north. That low pressure then, it's a very significant area of low pressure as well, with a lot of heavy rain, starts pushing through the Midwest towards the northeastern states. Again, it's on the west side of that low that we bring down the cold air from Canada. There's the upper air temperatures for Friday. So it's still pretty warm up the eastern side, but through the Midwest, turning much colder there, pulling in my 10 cells iceberg from Canada. There will be outbreaks of rain, of course, on the eastern side of below, on the west side of below. The areas, the outbreaks of rain may well turn increasingly to snow. And then that area of low pressure moves up towards Canada as we go through to Saturday, keeping things pretty cold in these northern and northeastern states through the weekend. So the warmth looks like it's really going to be in the southern and western states with this ridge of high pressure over in the Midwest and into the east. Yes, it does look quite cold through there, I have to say. There's a dip in the jet stream, and we're putting cold air in from Canada, so it could well be some snow over the weekend. Those colder temperatures progressing towards the eastern seaboard as well as we get through the weekend. But I think the core of it is really through the Midwest, where again there could well be some snow over this weekend. Into next week, it starts to turn milder again as the jet stream begins to push back north, and a ridge starts to build down towards Florida and into Southeast America. That will start to pull up warmer air from the south once more. So there's the upper air temperature for Tuesday, showing that the coldest air is retreating back into Canada, and warmth is beginning to move back northwards and eastwards across many parts of the state. So it's only like a few days of colder weather, and then we're going back into something milder through the early to middle part of next week. That's coming towards the end of next week, heading up towards day 10. Ridge of high pressure then is developing across many parts of America, and that hangs around through the north and the east anyway, up towards day 10 as lower pressure begins to develop out in the west. That's how we look here on Saturday the 20th of November, so we're at day 10 now. It's generally a mild scene across most parts of America at that point. In more extended range, some cold air begins to get drawn back in from Canada, quite briefly though. With that, but could bring another sort of swipe of winter into the Midwest and possibly into Northeast America through the third week of November. There's the upper air temperatures there for 22nd of November. Looking cold through the Midwest again, the cold blast, and that's extending over towards the east and northeast. Meanwhile, out west, it does look a lot milder. And then that cold air again sort of retreats back to Canada as we bring milder air back in across most parts of northern and east America. Although the northwest then begins to go a little bit colder. So we get these incursions of colder air from Canada coming and going, which is indicative of the time of year, but not locking in, not staying at the moment. Of course, it is only November, so it'll be later on into December and January that the cold will really start to get more severe, of course. And long-lasting, probably. This is how the ECM, the Euro, is looking all very similar for today. And then there's that area of low pressure developing tomorrow through both central states. Forms a major area of low pressure as it pushes into the Midwest on Friday. A bit of a storm, really, a bit of a winter storm. And we'll start to pull in much colder air from the north as well as that low pressure moves eastward. So on the east side of low pressure, it's rain and mild air, but on the west side of low pressure, turning to snow as colder air gets drawn in from Canada. Meanwhile, out west, I haven't spoken much about west in this video so far. Out west, there's a lot of high pressure, so mainly dry. Generally quite warm, but of course in the desert states like Arizona, for example, because of the lateness of the year, it will start to get really quite cold by night, but by day, relatively warm in the sunshine. That's how the upper air temperatures look. So still very warm to hot in the southern, southwestern states here. But again, bear in mind, lateness of the year, so cold nights in the desert states like Nevada, like Arizona, but by day relatively warm and dry. Further eastwards, that's where we've got this winter area of low pressure moving up towards Canada. On the eastern side of below, we draw up generally mild air from the south. Up the east coast, but on the west side of below, we bring down cold air from Canada from the north. Into weekend, it stays pretty cold in the Midwest and into the northeast as well. Could be some further wintry conditions. Some further snow is possible through the Midwest with that trough of low pressure. That's how the upper air temperatures look. Staying cold even into by this point, the GFS is beginning to show the cold air retreating back to Canada, but the ECM actually keeps that cold air sitting through the Midwest in particular. During the early part of next week will be, genuinely cold. This is proper winter that we've got here through the Midwest and progressing with time into the eastern part of America. Now, by the middle of next week, the cold air is beginning to go as this ridge sort of slips down into southeast part of America, and that draws up warmer southerly winds once again. So the upper air temperature by Thursday, clearly the cold air is retreating back into Canada, and most parts of America are becoming milder. By the time you get through to day 10, it's a mild scene across all parts of America from west coast right the way through to the east coast. Right, so just have a look at Severs V2, and then we're done. These are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes us from the 9th to 15th of November. The coming week we'll have low pressure through the Midwest and into the east. That's the dip in the jet stream, and that's bringing in our first real blast of winter to the Midwest, and that will move in towards those eastern northeastern states by weekend and early next week. Meanwhile, out west we've got a ridge that's going to bring plenty of dry and quite warm weather to those western states, I would have thought. Week 2 will be the 16th, 22nd of November. A ridge up the western side. The trough is retreating back up towards Canada. So, still may be some leftover legacy of that trough in most eastern and northeast states. But I think really that trough is going into week 2. So, probably becoming milder then. But the trough returns in week 3. This is 23rd, 29th of November. Look at this. The trough returning to the east, to the Midwest, to the east and southeast. So, yeah, another dip in the jet stream could well bring cold air back into the Midwest and the east again in the third week. Meanwhile, out west, the ridge is maintained off the west coast. And then into week 4, which is the 30th of November, 6th of December. Again, another change. Trough of low pressure then towards the west and the northwest as the ridge sort of pulls further out into the Pacific Ocean. Ridge building in the south and the east. So this will turn southern and eastern areas warmer, but the northwest and the west will probably go colder, and that will bring some wintry weather into northwestern parts of America, probably. Temperature anomalies for week 1, 9th to 15th November. Warmer than average in the west, colder than average in the east, over far northeast, actually relatively mild. Week 2 is the 16th, 22nd of November, so cold in the east and including the northeast, warmer through those central and particularly western states. Week 3 is going to be the 23rd, 29th of November, still quite cold across these eastern parts of America. So it does look as though, like, the populated areas of the Midwest, the East, going to have quite a cold November if this is right. Out west, maintaining the ridge, and then generally quite mild there. And then a change as we get through into week 4, this is the 30th of November, 6th of December, becoming colder in the north and northwest then. Warmer in the south, and that warmth extending up the eastern coast as well. That looks like it could be going quite severely cold for those northern and northwestern states. This is the end of November into the beginning of December. That's the first blast of severe cold from Canada into the far northern part of America there, early in December. And then precipitation-wise, look like that. So, week 1, 9th to 15th of November is wet in the east and also in the north, dry in the south and in the southwest. Week 2 is going to be the 16th, 22nd of November, quite dry through many of these southern, western and also eastern states, a little bit more unsettled in the north. Week 3 is going to be the 23rd, 29th of November, wet off the eastern coast, otherwise relatively dry, a little bit wetter in the north. And then week 4 will be the 30th of November to the 6th of December, dry in the southern states and off west coast, wetter through here. That would be snow, of course, particularly up here. And also above average precipitation over in the east as well. And that's it for European outlook. So we're looking for USA outlook, I should say. So got to get right continent would help, wouldn't it? Yes, it looks like it's all very typical for time of year. First blast of winter on the way to Midwest over the next couple of days by the end of the week, and that will progress into the east and the northeast over the weekend through the early part of next week. Looks like by the middle of next week that cold air will lift back out up to Canada, and it'll go milder through most parts of America then. Maybe signs or hints of more cold weather though, pushing back in from the north as we're getting towards the final stages of November, particularly perhaps into early December, where we might see our first sort of severe cold spell. That's a very, very long way out, of course, and so therefore is unreliable. And, of course, more widely, we still wait and see whether we're going to get one final sort of tropical storm and or hurricane to finish off what has been a big hurricane season for 2021. So, keep an eye on that over next week or two. Right, that's it for USA forecast for this week. We'll do it all over again next week. Going to be back shortly with a 10 to 14 day for the UK. So come back that, and then I've actually got a Christmas update coming up tonight at 7 PM for the UK once more. Right, okay, so that's it for USA forecast this week. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.